Air Force in 1965, the Phantom suffered. In the Korean War, the U.S. Air Force had shot down between 6 and 10 enemy fighters for every one of its aircraft lost in air-to-air combat. In Vietnam, the ratio was closer to 2 to 1, including other aircraft types besides the Phantom. The F-4's primary problem was that it had no built-in cannon. Instead, it relied entirely on newly introduced air-to-air missiles, the radar-guided AIM-7 Sparrow, the heat-seeking AIM-9 Sidewinder and the older AIM-4 Falcon. The Air Force didn't realize those early missiles were terrible. Studies showed that 45% of Vietnam-era AIM-7s and 37% of AIM-9s failed to either launch or lock on, and after evasive maneuvers, the probability of achieving a kill fell to 8% and 15% for the two types, respectively. The Falcon missiles were even worse, and the Pentagon later withdrew them from service. The North Vietnamese MiGs, equipped with both cannons and missiles, on the MiG-21, would outmaneuver the heavier F-4, which for all its speed, was not especially agile. Worse, American pilots weren't trained for close-range dogfights, as the Air Force assumed air-to-air engagements would occur at long range with missiles. Furthermore, the Phantom's J-79 engines produced thick black smoke, which combined with the aircraft's larger size, made it easier to spot and target from a distance. On the other hand, the rules of engagement over Vietnam prohibited U.S. pilots from shooting at unidentified targets beyond visual range, further crippling the advantages of the missiles. However, the F-4's problems began to recede. Air-to-air missile technology dramatically improved with later versions of the Sparrow and Sidewinder. The F-4E model finally came with an internal M161 Vulcan cannon. Before, some Phantom units made do with external gun pods that vibrated excessively. In 1972, an F-4 piloted by Major Phil Handley shot down a MiG-19 with his plane's gun, the only recorded aerial gun kill performed at supersonic speed. Eventually, the Air Force upgraded all of its F-4s with wing slats that significantly improved maneuverability at a slight cost in speed. New J-79 engines even dealt with the problem of the F-4's visible black smoke. The Navy, in contrast, perceived the problem as being a lack of air combat maneuvering training, and instituted the Top Gun training program in 1968. Navy pilots went on to score a superior kill ratio over Vietnam of 40 victories for 7 planes lost in air-to-air combat. The Air Force's Phantoms claimed 107 air-to-air kills for 33 lost to MiGs, and the Marine Corps claimed 3. Ground fire shot down 474 Phantoms in all services, as the heavy-lifting Phantom fighters did double duty as ground attack aircraft. 2 subvariants of the Phantom also distinguished themselves: the RF-4 photo reconnaissance plane, optimized for speed, and the Wild Weasel, specialized in attacking enemy surface-to-air missiles defenses. The last American F-4s would see action during Operation Desert Storm. Before being retired in 1996. The Pentagon later converted some into QF-4 target practice drones. However, the Phantoms proliferated around the world. The F-4 saw extensive use in Israeli service, scoring 116 air-to-air kills against the Egyptian and Syrian air forces, starting in 1969 during the War of Attrition. In one engagement on the first day of the Yom Kippur War in 1973, 28 Egyptian MiGs attacked Hofer Air Base. Just 2 Phantoms managed to scramble in defense, but they shot down 7 of the attackers. The Israeli Phantom's primary target and most deadly foe during these campaigns were Arab surface-to-air missile batteries. SAMs accounted for most of the 36 Israeli Phantoms lost in action. The swan song of the Israeli Phantom Force came during Israel's 1982 intervention in the war in Lebanon, when Phantoms escorted by new F-15s and F-16s wiped out all 30 of Syria's SAM batteries in the Bekaa Valley in one day without losing a single plane in Operation Mole Cricket 19. Iran received 225 F-4s from the United States prior to the Iranian Revolution. These formed the backbone of the Iranian fighter force during the 9-year-long war with Iraq. The Phantom reportedly acquitted itself well versus Iraqi MiGs, and carried out several long-range raids on the Iraqi airfields. The actual number of air-to-air kills remains disputed. The Phantom still sees service. But it's somewhat of an anomaly. Just compare it to F-15 Eagle. The F-15, which entered service in 1975, is emblematic of fourth-generation fighter aircraft that remain the mainstay of modern air forces today. The F-15 is also deliberately unlike the F-4. It's a heavy, twin-engine, two-seat fighter on an agile dogfighter. When the F-15 and the lighter F-16 saw their first major air action over Lebanon in 1982, they shot down more than 80 Syrian third-generation MiGs at no loss. The supremacy of the fourth generation was confirmed again in the Gulf War, in which Iraqi fighters shot down only one fourth-generation fighter, an F-A-18 Hornet, for the loss of 33 of their third-generation aircraft. How could the F-4 possibly keep up in this new environment? Easy, by integrating the same modern hardware used in the fourth generation. The Phantoms flown by the Turkish and Greek air forces both have modern pulse Doppler radars, which give the F-4 look-down shoot-down capabilities. In the past, high-flying radars had trouble detecting low-flying aircraft because the radar waves bouncing off the ground created a cluttering effect. Active Doppler radars cut through the ground clutter. Modern F-4s can also fire the full range of modern ordnance, such as the advanced AIM-120C AMRAAM air-to-air missile with a range of 65 miles, precision-guided munitions such as the AGM-65 Maverick, and late-model Sparrow and Sidewinder missiles. As combat aircraft are essentially weapons platforms, these capabilities mean that the F-4s can handle most of the same offensive tasks a fourth-generation F-15 or Su-27 fighter can do. But surely the electronics and instruments are out of date? Not really. For instance, modernized F-4s have improved heads-up displays so that pilots don't have to look down from the canopy to check on their instruments. Germany flew upgraded F-4FS until 2013, and maintains them in stock in case of future need. South Korea still has 71 F-4S, only modestly upgraded, in its 17th fighter wing. Japan maintains the same number of F-4HKs upgraded with pulse Doppler radars and anti-ship missiles. The Israelis pioneered the art of Phantom upgrades in the 1980s with the Phantom 2000 Kurnas, or Sledgehammer. Though retired from Israeli service in 2004, Israeli firms went on to upgrade Greece's 41P Icarus Phantoms, equipping them with ANPG-65 pulse Doppler radars and the ability to fire AMRAAM missiles. Israeli upgrades contributed to the Turkish Air Force's Terminator 2020, which has additional wing strakes for improved maneuverability. The 2020s have had 20 kilometers of wiring replaced for a net loss of 1,600 pounds in weight. The Turkish versions also feature a diverse array of modern sensors and electronics. Like other modern F-4s, they can deploy advanced ordnance such as paveway bombs, HARM anti-radar missiles and 3,000-pound Popeye missiles with a range of 48 miles. The Terminators are primarily ground attack planes, with some notoriety. They've bombed Kurdish PKK fighters in Turkey and Iraq in 2015 and 2016. An RF-4 reconnaissance plane was shot down over Syria in 2012, and 3 F-4s crashed in 2015, earning them the appellation flying coffins in the Turkish media. The Iranian Air